Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes. I have Matt next to me. We're going to keep him here today. How long do you think we can keep him? Should I sit on him? We should do the podcast with me from your lap.
I'm not traveling for a while that I know of.
Is that your nice way of saying no thank you? You're finally back.
I am. I'm excited to be in this seat again. I'm finally back. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, since I've been gone for like the last 2 or 3 episodes, I may steal the mic a little bit more than I normally do.
Yeah, I think based off our talking points, I think the floor is yours, my love.
I'm going to need a little help. But today we are going to talk about what it really takes to hit goals and to go from average to excellence.
Let's go it. Let's go it. Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So I'm going to start off with a story, a couple little stories. The first one goes back to when I was traveling a few weeks ago. I'm in this hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's a nice hotel. It's very bougie and it's got a nice gym, so I can actually work in there. I work out in there. I don't have to go find a gym. But I go down to the front counter because my room did not have a microwave in it. And I always need a pre-workout meal. It's usually a little oatmeal, get a little carbs, a little protein, just to fuel me through that workout. So I go down to the front desk and I ask the guy, hey, where can I warm this pre-workout meal up? And he helps me. There's a microwave right there. And he says, can I ask you a personal question? I'm like, yeah, sure. He goes, how old are you? And he was much younger than I am. And I said, well, I'm 46. He said, okay. He goes, well, I'm 24 and my goal is I want to be as jacked as you are when I'm 46. And I was taken back a little bit. And he says, what advice do you have for me? And when he asked me that, I was a little speechless because I was not expecting him to say that. But I said something very generic, like it's all the nutrition. You can forget about doing cardio and fad diets. You can manipulate the body through nutrition, and it doesn't have to be that hard. And I walked away from that conversation and thought to myself, that was accurate, but that isn't really what it takes. That's just one of the tactics is that nutrition. But I didn't talk to him about goal setting or figuring out what you want and combining that all with the tactics. And I can do that in a very short 30-second elevator speech, but I kind of missed that opportunity to give that to him. And I moved on and I forgot about that. And I fast forward to a weekend or two ago. I was on another trip. Which
is why you have not been here.
Yes.
The last few times I've recorded.
Yeah. This trip was an exciting one. This was it's one of those once in a lifetime deals, although I've been a couple of times, but
this was a bucket list trip.
Yeah. For our son. And I've been to the Indy 500 before, but he's never gone. So I took him to the Indy 500 and, I could go on and on about what an experience this is, but it's just something you can't explain.
Yeah. So I was watching all weekend. I knew I wasn't going to see you guys, but I was like, can't be there, so I might as well just watch a little bit. And I saw something where I ran the numbers, and they were talking about the amount of people inside this experience.
Yeah.
So Raceway, Indiana, it's a town, but where they hold the Indianapolis 500. So I think Arrowhead Stadium, Chiefs Stadium, Arrowhead holds like 77,000, like 70 to 80,000 people. The Indy 500 just in that raceway, 330,000.
Yeah.
I was laying at the pool with my girlfriend and I'm like, think about that. That's like 6 to 7 arrowheads. And she's like, holy shit. The scope of how many people in that.
Yeah, it's a crazy experience. I mean, that place has a golf course inside of the Speedway museum.
Insane to me.
But it's a great experience. And this race is 200 miles long. And it typically takes about 3 hours for a race from start to finish.
Not this time, because there was 1,000 restarts for
But typically it takes about 3 hours. And we had a 4-hour rain delay before the race. So standing shoulder to shoulder and under an awning with 330,000 of your closest friends. But yeah, so.
It had to have smelled great.
Yeah. And when you're at a race, we had this 4-hour rain delay. And when you're at a race and you're sitting in your seats, it's really loud. So we were in our seats for a really long time. And just under the 2-hour mark, I looked at my son and I got earplugs in. So I kind of mouth to him, hey, do you want to go take a break? So we get up and we decide to go walk around a little bit. And it was a nice little break to get away from that noise, get out of the seats, get our legs moving. And we went on a really long walk. I mean, we walked around, quite a bit of the track. And we went into a gift shop and we stopped at the bathrooms and we just took a nice break. And it was a great time, got some pictures. But we got back to our seats. I realized these guys that are driving have been rolling around this track at 225 miles an hour for over 2 hours straight. And it set in on me. And I mentioned this to my son and I lean over and whisper. And again, because it's loud when they're not there, I whisper in his ear. I was like, think about that. Can you imagine the toll that this is taking on these guys' body? We went and did all these other things and relaxed and they're rolling around at 225 miles an hour. And my son just very nonchalantly says, yeah, Dad, but they practice. And it hit me right then. They practice. So what does this story that I just told have to do with fitness or finances or relationships or whatever it is that you have on your mind that you want to be more successful in?
Can I stop? I don't want to interrupt. I love this story. I could listen to these stories from this weekend the entire day. But the fact that our 18-year-old son was so nonchalant about, well, yeah, Dad, they practice. He's already got it. He already understands it and is applying it. How cool is that? Like, if you want to be successful in any area, you have to figure out what it takes, or you have to get the roadmap. And then you actually have to practice daily. You have to show up daily. You have to check that box. And I want you to stay with me here. I know it sounds like a simple concept. It is. It really is. But look back over the last 60 to 90 days. Have you actually been practicing? Have you actually been practicing every single nuance of what you're trying to achieve? Not just the high level shit. Or have you been thinking about it at night saying, oh, I'm going to start tomorrow. Monday, first thing, I'm going to meal prep. I promise I'm going to get it by Monday. So let's look at career. This is going to be a very simplistic way of looking at it. But assume you're in sales in some sort. You study your product and you spend time ensuring you know the ins and the outs, you know the features, the benefits, all of it. You practice your objections and who you're presenting to, and you study your demographic and make sure you understand that you can explain how your product fits this person's needs. And you're doing all of these little things that lead up to the point when you get on the phone or you're in front of your prospect and you're practicing and you're preparing for that moment. And then you learn from the presentation and you keep practicing and you practice objections and how to overcome questions. And now if you're in sales and you're successful, think about that.
In fitness, it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
You're practicing daily the core items that you need to do. It's the exact same thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're trying to achieve, it doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve. The practice daily is what you have to do. And it comes down to getting you ready for that moment. And I'm not talking about like, when I say in fitness, I'm talking about practicing daily to get to that moment. I'm not talking about getting on stage for a fitness competition.
Unless that's your goal.
Yeah, unless that's your goal. it comes in many different forms, that moment.
100%. We have people often ask us, like, do you have a show coming up? Like, no, just
Don't do it for the show.
I don't do it for the show. I want to kick ass at the pool. Sorry. I want people to be like, wow, are you in fitness? I am. Uh-huh. Had 2 people approach me last night at the gym. Are you a trainer? I actually am. One of the best. Thanks for noticing. Here's my card. But you practice daily because every day won't be perfect. And this is also why we keep our fitness habits simple. We're working with a few people that keep trying to go to level 40. And I'm like, whoa, you aren't even good at level 2. Slow it down. Get this to where you can do it in your sleep. Get this to where no matter what day of the week, you know this is handled and it's easy and you never have to think about it again. You may hit a bump in the road. That's why it's called a road. Like, there's going to be bumps in it. But you keep practicing. You aren't just driving and hit a speed bump and get out of your car like, that's it. Driving's not for me. You don't just start over. You keep practicing. You keep learning how to get over that speed bump. So many people feel like they have to start over with one bad day or a couple of off days. Or let's say you have a week's disruption. Talked about it last week. Stop stopping. And so you practice daily so that when it comes time to decide, do I really want to go to the gym today or not? You go because it's just part of the practice. Like, did you shower today? Well, yeah. Because you've practiced it daily. It's not a big deal. Do you go to the gym today? Yeah. Because it's practiced. It's that automatic of a response for us. The whole point of this is when you really look at things, practice isn't just for professional drivers. Practice isn't a one-time event. It's a lifetime thing. I'm practicing daily.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people can get it wrong is fitness is not that one-time event or that 3-month event. It's a lifetime of practice of getting better. And they have this fear of getting into it because they think this is this huge monumental task. It's a one-time event. It's not. It's a lifetime of practice. And when you think about it like that, is your current routine something you can do for the rest of your life? Whatever, if you're listening right now, whatever you're doing right now, the fact is this is a lifetime event. It's not a one-time event, like we said. Is the routine you're doing right now something you can do the rest of your life? If you're currently watching someone on YouTube, and I don't have any issues with videos, but if you're currently watching someone on YouTube to get your workouts and you're not getting results today, and you haven't gotten results, is this something that you can do the rest of your life? You physically can do it, but can you mentally continue to put the workout in, but not look like you actually go to the gym? Or on the flip side, if you're currently cutting everything out and going hard for 75 days, is this something you can do for the rest of your life? Well, obviously, the answer is no to both of those things. That is why any program you do, and in our example, the fitness and the finances, you've got to get the program down, but you have to start with your why. Then you have to find the map that can get you to practice daily for a very, very long time.
I want to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I love you when you...
I'm counting the interruptions. That's twice.
But I say it with a compliment.
I'm joking.
We'll get back to that later. I still need to wrestle you for a Facebook comment you made. I want to touch...
These are not interruptions. These are awesome. Keep going.
I love you.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that you said before it leaves my brain. And I know we can dig into this because we've done it before, but you mentioned to start with your why.
Yeah.
And it's so important. And I touched base on it, I think a couple of podcasts ago when I was by myself. Practice sucks. And sometimes practice is fun. Think about it. When you were playing sports as a kid, was there a practice that you walked out away from that were like, that sucked?
Yeah.
And were there some that you were like, today was awesome?
Yeah.
No different here. In fitness, when I'm hitting a PR or I'm seeing the scale move the way I want it to, according to plan, or putting on, I had this moment last night. It's so funny. I put on a pair of shorts that I hadn't worn in 2 years because I'd gone on a bulk. So my butt was a little bigger and I just got through a cut and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm motivated to go practice that day. But there's some days you don't see the results. And there's some days that you don't hit that PR. And there's some days that your legs are like, go fuck off. And you still get through it. Because when you have your why down, like when it is nailed, as solid as your spine, practice is so much easier. Same thing with sports. That coach gives you something to believe in, to show up every day when it does suck. He's got the why. You've got to have your why. You know you're doing this for something so much bigger. And it's like you always say, you have to think bigger.
I love that. Keep interrupting.
I will.
You tie it together so well.
Ooh.
You did. You nailed that. I hear people all the time say, I'm just not as motivated as you or as that other person. Whether it's in fitness or finances, whether it's putting in the time in the career like you just talked about to study your craft and learn your sales and learn how you're going to talk to a consumer, or whether it's nutrition or whatever it is, I hear I'm just not motivated. And I got to tell you, it really has zero to do with motivation to get up and practice every day. That is where people get it wrong. They think they don't have the motivation. But it goes back to what you just said. To get up and practice every day, you have to find that deep down desire. And that desire comes from your why. Finding out what your why is, which then translates into desire, is all the motivation you need. Because there's days you don't feel like getting up and practicing. I'm sure there's days that those race car drivers did not want to get in the car and drive. But they have that desire because they have that why, because they want to win that race. So let's close out today and leave everyone with a question for them to think about until next week.
Homework.
Yeah.
I like it.
Have you truly spent time? I mean, real time, either by yourself or with a coach, writing out your why, chunking up, chunking down, and asking yourself over and over, why? Why? Jen mentioned the 5 whys on a previous podcast. Have you spent time doing that? You've got to spend more time on that than you do looking for the tactics. Have you reserved an hour in your calendar to figure out what your why is, or an hour and a half or 30 minutes? Because that's where it starts. That's what gets you to get up and practice every day. If you haven't done that yet, you can forget about the tactics. Start there.
Boom. Mic drop. Nailed it. Guys, we're going to wrap up. I hope you found value in today's podcast. If you were inspired was the word I kept coming back to. You said desire. I say inspired. It's not that you're not motivated. You're just not inspired, right? Yep. It's something that's just so deep down that just lights the fire. If today lit a fire, I want you to share it with somebody you think would find value in this. Help us get our message out. Help us inspire others. Ignite your impact. That's why we call it that. Tag us in your Insta stories. Give us a 5-star review. It's the only way we grow, y'all. And as always, we'll talk to you next time.